New head coach of the Rowan University football team. Let's go to the Toms River Volkswagen Sports Hotline and welcome into the locker room, Pat Ruley. Good morning, Pat. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. How's everything going?
All right, man. Having you on is so cool because, we haven't really talked football, and you're kickstarting our football talk off this season, and we're great to have you. You went to Atlantic City High School. You're now coaching for your alma mater. How cool is that?
It's pretty surreal still, kind of pinch myself, but, my 8-month-old daughter does that enough for me. So it's something that, I'm able to, I know I'm living in reality, but no, it's been a dream. It's been a hell of a ride so far, and really trying to, just take one day at a time and really embrace it.
Coach, you're a linebacker. So you went through the wars, the trenches, you know what it takes to win. What's your message to your players? A former prof, you walked around the campus. What's your message to your players?
Yeah, so I've had one team meeting so far, and given the time of year that I was hired, it ended up being a Zoom meeting. But I am meeting with these guys kind of in segments here in the next couple of weeks. But what I told them in that meeting is, a lot of people are writing off Rowan University football for 2024 because of the timing of the hire and a lot of the uncertainty around it. And that's just not how we roll in this program. The expectations have always been super high, and just really excited to go out there and compete. And, we're going to play at an extremely high level. We're going to be super detailed in everything we do. But at the end of the day, every yard that we're going to allow is going to be earned. And, when you play us, the day after you play us, there's just going to be more people in your training room than there typically are. That's the mentality, and that's the style of play you'll see from us on Saturdays.
Now, you're the 8th coach in team history. You took over for Jay. Of course, he retired in April, and you got hired in June. Have you had time to recruit or anything?
No. There's obviously nowadays with the transfer portal, there have been some guys that I've talked to, but obviously always kind of careful about that. Really want to make sure that any additions of guys that we're bringing in are, positive to the fabric of the culture that I'm looking to establish. So, not a ton of things in terms of recruiting, just because of the timing of the year. There will be probably a couple summer additions, but, the roster that the previous staff recruited, for this upcoming season will probably be, mostly the team that we roll with this fall.
Pat, Coach. Sorry, now I'm just gonna call you Coach. But I was his coach at one point. Now, and he trained. Like I said before, you got on the show. We just talked about what it was like to be around you as your coach.
Right.
And what he did was made everyone around him better because he was there. His presence. Tyler Stockton had the same presence, and I've only been around it a few times. Myron Roll had that presence. David Washington from St. Joe's Prep had that presence. When he's around, everyone's better, right? So I noticed that early on, he had that coach type of mentality where, it's just if he's around, why is he going to let everybody else, look bad or whatever? He'll correct you, he'll fix it. So it was neat having him there. His family's, very embedded in this community, and everyone
Margate native,
dude. Everybody, that's all everybody was talking about the past couple weeks since he got hired. I've heard a million people text, call, Facebook posts. It's nonstop. So, Pat, I'm so pumped for you. I want you to explain something to me though. He sent me a text message, and this is what it said: excited about some changes looking to make, trying to redefine what it looks like to be a D3 player in this landscape in terms of the student athlete experience. What does that mean? I kind of get where I know where you're going, but what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So, I think that Division III football in a lot of ways, gets a bad rap as a whole. And I've talked to a couple of people about this. It's the largest division in all of college football, almost by double, right? There's 250 schools that play football in Division III football. And so, if you were at a game watching the 245th school play the 247th school, you might not think, that the football is quality and it's not great. But, tune into a game, and show up to a game where there's two top 15, top 25 teams playing each other, you're going to look at it as high quality football. And so, some of the guys, especially from the state of New Jersey, that are looking to be higher level players and scholarship players and that type of stuff. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the market might dictate that they're not a full scholarship kid at the FCS or FBS level. How do we convince them not to cross that bridge, into Pennsylvania or, into New England for, some partial Division II money or preferred walk-on opportunities? And really the onus is on us in terms of, A, proving to them that we're going to coach and develop them at a high level. B, give them some experiences that you get at a scholarship level school in some instances in terms of gear, jersey combinations, splash reels, green screen video, promoting them as individuals on a regional and national level when, they get awards, weekly awards or annual awards, and really just making that experience, the best it possibly can be for the 4 years. And, when you have that and we establish that here, if you're going to think about going to a PSAC school and taking some money, but that money can be comparable to stay at home, even if that was a Division III program, we want to be like, hey, we're going to make this decision really tough. We're going to be in a position that we want to compete at a regional and national level. And our ultimate goal is to get back to the place where we're annually in the mix, making deep runs in the playoffs, looking for a national championship. And that's something you want to be a part of. And you're going to sacrifice maybe that one Twitter post that gets to that you get to tell people that you're a higher level football player. Because at the end of the day, you're going to a program that the expectations and the reputation of that program are extremely well respected. And that experience you're going to get while you're on campus is going to be at an elite level. And even some of your buddies who play scholarship football are going to be like, man, you got that going on there? Like, we don't even get that, right? That's the type of thing that I want going here at Rowan.
We're talking with Pat Ruley. He just was named head coach at Rowan University football team. And let me ask you a question. How many scholarships does a Division III school get like Rowan?
So zero in terms of athletic money, and that's some of the education that we got to provide to guys. So, ultimately at the end of the day, I think that when guys are in the search of scholarship, at least for the most part, they're trying to figure out, hey, what is going to be the most cost-effective option for me, in this investment of my education, at higher ed, and so for me, it's saying, okay, listen, we can't provide you with that athletic scholarship, that $5,000 in athletic money, like maybe a PSAC school or a West Virginia Division II school can. But when we combine your merit money, your need-based aid, other grants that are provided to you, ultimately, if the bottom dollar amount for us is less or equal in terms of out-of-pocket cost, then isn't that ultimately the goal of this whole thing, right? So really being able to be in homes and develop relationships with people that, some of those stigmas around level and really level being a major factor begin to vanish. So,
Coach Ruley, this is Josh Hennig. I wanted to ask you, we have seen schools in the area take the approach of, for example, Greg Schiano at Rutgers, the coaching staffs at Stockton for basketball and soccer. They do the approach of, hey, let's go and get a cluster of young men from a specific high school. Is that something that maybe you guys would be looking to do, to say, hey, let's get a group of guys from specific high schools instead of maybe just trying to get maybe one guy from a bunch of high schools?
That would never be the, ultimate recruiting strategy. I mean, if a year happens where, guys fit our profile in terms of, athletic ability, character, all the things that we're looking for, and then obviously academic requirements, and all those guys fit that bill, and it shakes out that way, that's awesome. But we really want to just target guys who have a burning desire to play college football, who want, see the value in a great education, in a lot of instances may want to stay closer to home and, allow their communities and their families to see them play on Saturdays, and then want to be coached at a high level, want to be coached extremely hard. My mentor always talked about being demanding and not demeaning in how you coach guys. And that's something that, we're going to bring to the table as a staff every single day. We're always going to try to unlock those players to be the best version of themselves, even if it's beyond what they possibly could have imagined.
Coach, I coached actually baseball at Glassboro High School. I was a JV coach there, and it's it's always a coaching style. Like, who are some of the coaches that coached you that you try to model yourself after?
Well, this is actually going to sound pretty funny. So the first guy I'm going to drop a promo to is the guy sitting in the studio with you, and that's not because he's on the call. He was a guy that really for me was somebody who, when I was trying to cut my teeth and kind of prove myself, and I really appreciate what his view of me was as an individual when I was a young athlete, but I might have been me and my buddy Keith Corcoran, who was the younger brother of Jack. And we all trained in that same group. I think me and Keith at one point in time, out of about 8 to 10 guys, might have been the only 2 guys that, weren't at one point in time on NFL rosters, and so like we were training with some really high level athletes, and, the attention to detail and constantly pushing to, unlock parts of your game or parts of your athleticism that, you were kind of always striving to achieve. And really at the end of the day, always had a smile on his face, always was somebody that, you walked into the gym, you felt like positivity was kind of the thing that was the aura. And that's kind of how I've always liked to coach. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm fiery and I have my moments, but my guys know that, like, hey, I'm coming from a place of love. I'm coming from a place of really wanting to make you the best version of yourself as a young man and as a player. And so he was one specifically. Mike Donnelly, like I already mentioned, was the head coach that, he's passed away, but he was a long time, super successful head coach in the Division III landscape. He actually was the defensive coordinator for Marcellus Wiley when he was at Columbia. And he actually moved him to the defensive side of the ball. Ironically, when he got there, he was playing running back, and obviously his career turned out tremendous. But he was a guy who I always felt like had a really deep connection with the players. It was well beyond the field and really unlocked their full potential because of, the relationships that he built. So those impacts certainly, weighed on me heavily, as I was cracking into this as a profession.
Well, I can tell you, Dave does bring it. He does bring it here in the locker room. Smile. He uplifts us all the time. I know that not only as a coach, you want to teach your players how to be great winners, but also how to be great men.
Yeah, so this past winter when I was still working at Susquehanna, we had a tremendous season. We, at one point in time, we're 9th in the country, which was the highest we've ever been as a program since, the D3football.com poll had come out. And, we were kind of just, hanging out and just shooting the breeze in the office. And one of my guys asked me, hey, coach, do you think this is the best team you've ever coached this past season? And, we beat the Division III national champs this year. We're the only team in the country that beat, Cortland, who was SUNY Cortland, who won the national championship. We beat them at their place in week 3. It was a tremendous game that ended on a buzzer beater field goal, super hard fought. But so all these accolades, and he asked me this question, and I said, I'll let you know in 20 years. Yeah. Are you guys the best fathers? Are you the best community leaders? Like, listen, we're going to win a ton of games at Rowan, but at the end of the day, if the guys that I coach aren't going on and taking the lessons that we teach them and going on to be tremendous men within their communities, then it's all for naught, right? So ultimately, it's not an either or proposition, right? We're going to build men of great character, and we're going to compete for championships annually. That's the goal.
Well said, Coach. Well, listen, man, we really appreciate you taking time. Go ahead, Dave.
I got one last thing I got to tell you. This is a Pat Ruley quote, and I know I remember him saying he'll always have sand in his shoes. And all that being like closer to home and being beach, yeah. and going off of what you just said, Pat, you might not even remember you said this to me, but he goes, as the head coach, I was very proud of him to get that job and everything before the Rowan job, and he says, I would rather win or lose with winners than win with losers.
Right.
So that's a great quote.
That's a great quote.
Yeah, it's the first time I heard anybody say it. It was a kid. To me, he's a kid. You know what I mean? And he said that. So, Pat, I'll never forget the things that you represent. You are. I mean, everybody's just so proud of you right now.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
That's
like,
awesome.
I'm getting choked up.
No, he's getting choked up. His eyes
Sorry,
are getting
Pat,
red.
I love you, man.
Coach, he's getting all welled up here, man.
The feeling is certainly mutual.
Hey, Coach, man, we really appreciate you taking time. good luck to you. And Dave, like I said, he's getting emotional here. But look, you mean a lot to him, and thank you so much for taking your time. And good luck to you this year.
I appreciate you guys having me on, and go Profs.
All right, go Profs. All right, there he is, Coach Pat Ruley on the Toms River Volkswagen Sports Hotline.